Haven, go ahead.
Good to
go. 7:03, calling to order, June 22nd. Newcastle Select Board meeting, any amendments to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Moving on to previous meeting minutes, June 8th.
I'll move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Thanks, Ben, thanks, Karen, any discussion on that? Any edits? All good, all those in favor? Excellent. Item number 4, public comments, items not on the agenda. Anybody have a comment? Mal?
Good dress straws.
Mal, whose bag is this up here?
Don't know.
Leftover from something else.
Thanks, Mal.
Thank you.
What?
All right,
For the first time, details about legal matters to the greatest extent practicable. Contract details with highly respected firm of Pretty, Flaherty, Belleville and Pacious have been put into the returns to the public so that you see what's happening. And the listing of work accomplished for the town. This is the first time I've seen that kind of pertinent detail that will certainly lend confidence in public acceptance of legal work that the town is engaged in. Thank you.
thanks, Mal. Bill, if you
Yep.
want to say something?
Show and tell, I passed this around.
No, thank you. Take one, pass it down.
I thought they were gonna be whispers, actually.
Yeah.
That they were. First off, I want to thank the town for its commitment to upgrading the gravel roads around the town. A lot of work has been done in the last few years, and it's way better than it was when my sister had to ride a horse to the end of the road and leave the horse in the Clements barn until school was out to come back. But in this last round, a couple of months ago, this rock was laid down this thick on the roads. And in some places, it's been packed in the half mile coming to my house. It still means driving through 2 and 3 inches of this rock. Squeaks and rattles appear. Tires are hurt. I've made a tour of the town's dirt roads today. And at the end of each one of them, various lengths are still deep in this. It means driving 5 miles an hour with damage to the car. I've spoken repeatedly to the road commissioner, left messages in the town. Kevin's responded to me. I was told a couple weeks ago that this matter would be addressed. Still, nothing has been done. And I have to admit considerable irritation as I have to drive through this, going and coming. The second part of this is that even where it has been packed down, when you drive over a road that's basically rock, it's still pretty bony. And a couple of years ago, I picked up a copy of the Maine Dot's Guide to Gravel Roads. And it says putting down rock is a great way of building a foundation, but you put a layer of fines on top of it. And that layer of fines has not been applied. And anywhere I drove today where it was packed down, it still was like that. Frankly, the 2 tracked 60 years ago was smoother, other than for wet season. It was smoother and more easily passed over. So I hope something can be done about this. But again, I'm grateful for the attention that has been paid to the dirt roads. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Roger.
I want to correct a comment that was made at the last board meeting about my road. I was told that it wasn't my road and it belonged to the town. And I think the town is all of us tax-paying residents, and I think we all own town property. And so I think it is my road. And I will fight to the bitter end, technically, road from damage and negligent road work. And to me, we wouldn't even be having this conversation if we had a real road commissioner, because a real road commissioner would have been checking his roads and he would have known that that road wasn't ready for heavy maintenance and running triaxle trailers 70,000 pounds down our road, breaking up our pavement. He would have known that, and he never would have started the work. And I've called when the road work is going on, and I talked with you, Kevin, and you or the board did nothing. They let it go on unabated until he done all that damage to the road. And it never should have happened. And so, as far as I'm concerned, I agree totally with what Bill's saying. I walk that road every day for exercise. And I can tell you right now that those rocks permeate the bottom of your soles of your shoes, and it's like you're walking barefoot, and it hurts. And not only that, but it's unstable. You step on these rocks and it wants to twist your ankle as you're stepping on them, because it's not flat rocks you're stepping on. And the other problem with what's going on is that every time you grade, he runs a roller over these to put the rocks down into the gravel. And when you do that, it may push them down for a while, but they come back up. Now, the upper road where Bill's talking about, it's all gravel, all rocks on the surface. And so even where they've sunk down into the gravel, the next time you grade the road, all those rocks are coming back to the surface, because he's got the wrong material on the surface of the road. The road needs to have 6 inches of fine finished gravel that can be graded and regraded and laid down and regraded and laid back down, and you don't get the rocks. So that's the other problem with the material that's being used on that road. And the other thing that happens when you drive your vehicles over there, those rocks are being splashed up and under the undercarriage of your car. Now, all cars are built to take a little bit of that punishment, but not day after day after day. And you're threatening your muffler and your tailpipes and your catalytic converter and your suspension, and all that stuff is being shattered with these rocks as you drive down the road there, and chipping the paint too if it gets on the outside of the vehicle as they're being kicked up. So it definitely needs to have something done. And I agree totally with Bill. Oh, and one other thing. The last VIP meeting I went to, I made some phone calls to get people to come, and some of them did. And so I touched base with them to get their feedback on what they thought of the meeting. And don't kill the messenger, but some of them I spoke to were kind of insulted that you had us playing with crayons and colored pencils and drawing a fairy tale scenario on a map. They were insulted because we're all adults here, and that's what they had you do. And so, just for what it's worth, I'm just let.
Anybody else have a comment not on the agenda? Yeah. Closing that section, moving on to item 5A, secret ballot survey results. And so yeah, I think this is a chance for the board. We can do a review of our election that just happened. Kevin, you can kind of run through what you did here and
Sure.
maybe kick it off.
So then, as part of the election process this year, we did collect a survey, both from residents who brought their ballots in. We gave basically a survey poll asking 2 questions. Did you like voting the 2026 annual town meeting warrant by secret ballot? And then the second question is, would you want to continue voting this way? And then a space for additional comments. There was we had our annual town meeting ballot box available so people could fill out the quick slip and drop it in the box. They had over 300 and about 350 people participate. be a little more.
Mhm.
But 350 residents out of the 800 or so people who attended the elections this year or this June provided us feedback. Those results basically said that about 265 or so voted in favor of continuing this process, or they like this process and they want to continue it, versus about 90 who said no, they don't. And then additional comments were ran the gamut. It's included as an exhibit, the full list. But what I really did is I took that and I used it to try to summarize those comments and think about improvements for next year. I think it would make sense for the select board to continue this approach next year, just based on the results. But if we do it, we need to be sure that we're thinking about how we communicate, improve communication with the public about what's on the ballot. What are they voting for? You know, there's a couple of comments specifically about like the discontinuance of a road. Well, so the question is, well, maybe that should just be a special town meeting, but unfortunately, the law requires that a discontinuance happens at the annual town meeting. So it can only be at the annual town meeting. So there, if something like that, where it's outside of the standard question that you're gonna ask them in a given year, there needs to be more time spent trying to educate the community as to what this is and why they're voting.
We don't have any of those.
We never have those.
No, can't remember, no.
But even that whole list of questions that we have to have people vote on every year, if people haven't been to it, like, most of the people who voted haven't been to annual town meeting for a while or ever, and they've not been exposed to those rote questions.
Correct,
So,
and that's another thing, is like, there was a lot of, I wasn't prepared for this, because I didn't know,
Right.
I've never been to an annual town meeting, so I didn't know I had to vote for it.
Yeah.
You had others that say, no, I wanna have the annual town meeting, and I
Right.
missed that. But
Kevin,
Yeah.
Kevin, can I ask you?
ask the.
You're gonna address it to me, Roger.
Okay,
Can you tell me what you're at?
could he give those figures of how the voting went at the beginning? I couldn't, I missed it.
It's
Did you like voting the 2026 annual town meeting warrant by secret ballot? Yes, 268, to no, 89.
Oh, wow.
And then would you like to continue voting the annual town meeting by secret ballot? Yes was 263 to 90, no. So it was about a 2/3.
Yeah, I mean, that result is overwhelming. The other thing we don't know is. The other half of the people, I think reading through the comments, a lot of the comments were. I say negative, or they just had concerns or didn't like it in general,
Yeah.
or lots of the comments said, can we go back to, in-person meetings? So yeah, we don't know about the other half.
Yeah, I didn't, and unfortunately, what I did is I tallied and then went back and just pulled the ones out that had comments, and I didn't specify which one said no, no, and then had the comment versus those that said yes, yes, and there was no comment. I didn't differentiate that.
Yes.
I still have them all, so I could if you wanted me to, but the sentiment was, I think most of the people who said no had some comment about why they said no.
I don't wanna. We'll go on the weak limb of speculation, but most of the time, people that write comments have some kind of concern that they're
Trying to address.
trying to address.
Well, we have a few that said, great, the staff are great.
Yeah. So good for you. But I thought that was, honestly, it was a, interesting but unexpected support for the ballot referendum.
Or could I make a comment?
Sure.
I voted in favor of continuing this, but the secret ballot. But I also have enjoyed the opportunity to see the town come together once a year.
Yep.
And that I will miss.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether there is some other way in which the community could be brought together. Apparently food used to be served
Right.
decades ago. It was a great community event. And I really do miss that. I mean, I think the reason people are confident in this new method is that it's a vote of confidence in you guys. So I still would like to see the community brought together.
And that's in line with some of the other comments, Bill, I mean, yeah. I think the idea is that we should have. Lead up or informative sessions as we need them leading up to the referendum. So maybe that's another way to engage the, you know. The people that don't know what's going on. I also think that we're gonna. There's a learning curve here, and after a few years of, or let's say 2 years, if we do this next year. That people are just more used to what they're gonna be faced with when they come to the ballot booths.
I also think that there's value in asking this question every year.
Yeah,
So you're informed as a board whether or not you continue doing it. This way.
Yeah, you have to have a way for people to voice their concerns.
Yep.
And if we're not meeting in public, then this is. They're just there.
So I provided some recommendations for staff to work on to try to address this. So clearer information before voting, more opportunities for public discussion, as Bill just brought up, and then better advance notice and transparency. So there's some examples of what we could be trying to do in the lead up to next year's effort. I also mentioned we've started the Newcastle Next conversation series, and that's pretty much a weekly opportunity to talk about some of the topics that are going on in Newcastle. And I hope we did have a potluck. That was probably the most well-attended one we've had so far. So food does work. And I hope to continue trying to engage the community that way. And I just need a larger cross-section of the community to participate. So I gotta find time to work for me and for the community. There is no need for emotion.
any other thoughts, comments from the board?
So I think we will be able to utilize the new website's capability to send out text message blasts to people who want to opt in to getting text messages from stuff like this, from meetings and. If we have some kind of informational meeting before meeting. So yet another way we can communicate with people.
Well, address Mal, anybody else got a comment? No, Mal, go ahead.
I miss the in-person annual meeting. Especially the challenges and the explanations in detail that have come forth in past situations. Make it easier to understand what all of us can't really necessarily have the time to be engaged in. And yes, it is close to the moment of truth of one sort or another, but it is information that is something that most people don't otherwise have a chance to absorb. It just isn't in their presence that those kinds of detailed and occasionally impassioned arguments about why a particular thing should be done or not done. Thank you.
Can I have one comment? Could somebody speak up a little louder? I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry,
Sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. thanks.
Is that it? Just about the
Yeah.
audible level? Okay, fine. Merle, do you have a question?
Just an observation. Years past, we'd go to the town meeting and the budget would come up and we would be able to challenge the budget openly and publicly. And that was good for all of us to help us understand better what we were doing coming along. Now, under the secret ballot, we don't get that choice. I feel like we're losing a right that we have to challenge the budget.
Okay, the only thing I'll say about that, Merle, is the idea and concept, okay? Is that you do have a chance to challenge the budget. However, it's during our budget cycle, which happens months before the annual meeting. So that is in concept the time when you should come and hear about what's being allocated or appropriated in the town. So I'll just say that, okay? Okay, thanks for that comment. Any other, I'm gonna close that Everybody's good with that. Moving on to item 5B, MMA Legislative Policy Committee ballot. 4 people on the ballot, myself included. And,
There's 2 open positions,
2 open positions.
so you need to select somebody else. I assume, I made
But
the
we're gonna
assumption, or in the recommended, or the possible motion, I did assume that you'd vote for your own Newcastle resident to serve our region. Our district, sorry. But this is the Legislative Policy Committee of the Maine Municipal Association. They provide review of all of the legislation that the legislators propose. That may impact municipalities, and they as a body, the Legislative Policy Committee, make recommendations for staff to either support, not support. Neither support or not support, and then also monitor. So there's varying levels of each piece of legislation that the LPC helps the staff determine what to focus on. Tor's done it for 2 years now, and every 2-year cycle, they there's huge value in consistency in who attends that. Because they have a stronger voice when it's time to actually talk about some of the legislation. They understand the process.
I think at the very least, it's good to hear what is coming our way as a town, what to be put on our radar. I think it's an advocate. Honestly, most of what is being voted on up there is it's mostly overwhelming in favor of whatever the motion is. So it's not a lot of divisive election results or voting up there, but I would say that yeah, there's a lot of things that just don't apply to Newcastle that we just, are more academic needles. Taking a position on state police training, things like that. How to deal with homeless, so yeah, I mean, it's good to know if there's something coming through legislation that we should be aware of, but there's a lot of weight towards the bigger cities and the bigger municipalities, so.
Service center
Communities, yeah. But that said, there were a few things in the last session about affordable housing, the Growth Management Act, planning, state planning office, so there were some things, but.
Pamela Dunning is currently on it. Oh, she's the past.
No, the current other District 13 member was Waldeboro and Butler. And Bob Butler. So he's kind of resigned from it. So.
Everybody looks qualified.
How do we do this, Kevin? I mean, other than
That's my
me,
question.
how do we vote? How do we do it?
It looks like we all sign it, so I think we actually have to decide
You have to pick somebody.
on 2 as a board,
Okay,
and then we check those 2, and then we all sign.
Which I didn't bring with.
I mean, I guess I would make a motion that Daniel Hunter be the second, just because I know he's our
I know that was my
compatriot over in Demerscata. So
first thought, but then reading the profiles, I was like, well, is he? But yeah, I don't obviously know
Yeah, we don't know
anyone else.
Yeah.
so-
I was gonna.
yeah, I mean,
Same
Dan,
thing.
I think Dan would be great. Honestly, he's a sharp guy, so.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Well, then I'll make a motion that we nominate Tor Glendenning and Daniel Hunter for the Maine Municipal Association Legislative Policy Committee.
Second. Great. So any other discussion on that? All right. All those in favor?
Sure.
Okay. Good. for that mission, guys.
I'll come find you for your signatures.
Oh, we don't have the paper?
What's that?
We don't have the paper?
I forgot. Okay.
Fair enough.
Let's go, please.
Excuse me. Okay, moving on, item 6A, board of and committee appointments, so, yep, we gotta choose a chair and a vice chair.
It's.
Yep.
It is that time of year?
So I actually had a question before we get into this, because we usually do this after the turn of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
So it's usually the first meeting in July.
Oh, I've done this the last 3 years, is this appointing a new person because you have a new.
I guess I didn't
Board.
realize.
I mean, I guess we know who, well, let's put it this way, if me or Rufus were not reelected, we need to.
Right,
This-
do it
Yeah,
now.
of course,
Right.
right, yes, correct,
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
It does.
It's the first meeting after the annual.
After the
Yeah,
election.
no, it makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, the fiscal year actually has nothing to do with it.
Last election.
Great.
All right, well, since Tor hasn't termed out, I'll nominate Tor for chair again.
I second that.
I guess you could, just wait till the.
I think
before you try.
Thomas does a great job
I-
where he's sitting, so I would nominate him for vice chair. As long as he still wants the
Oh,
position.
really? He'll do it.
For my one meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the quickest meeting we had all year, so.
But it looks,
That wasn't here.
work for the person closest has always taken over. So,
That's a year away.
a lot can happen, right?
When's your, turn off?
My term is
You just,
not this next one, but the
Right.
one after.
Following up, yeah.
yeah, Ben and I are
We're
next.
next.
And then.
I'm the one by themselves.
All alone.
Yep. Does anybody have a second for Thomas?
Oh, it was done. Oh, to do both of them. We haven't voted on the first one.
Well, we could do them both at the same time.
Okay, well, second. Thomas for vice chair.
Seems to be working, why shake it up?
Alright,
So
fair enough.
that's why I suggested we modify the bylaws,
Well, exactly.
because we ended up having board chairs who were,
Yeah.
serving as.
Your
the-
bylaws are changed, but.
Yeah,
towards
next-
the end of 1 year.
No, I know, I'm saying, but that
Yeah,
exact
that is, right.
reason that you just said was why we had someone who was chair for 10 years.
I think the 2 year limit's smart.
I think, yeah, I
Cause then
think
you
it's
got
great.
some, yeah, I mean, you got some continuity and institute, the
Yeah.
next chair can, whatever, I think it's a smart process.
No dynasties here.
Right.
Alright, should we vote?
Yeah.
Yes.
In
Okay.
favor.
Status quo, thanks. Thanks, everyone. Item 6B, select board bylaws. So some edits here, mostly in procedure. Kevin, you wanna?
Which we're not following 100%.
We're not.
We haven't been following,
No,
but,
we're more relaxed.
you have a process you can follow if you need to. It's interesting because during the year, we talked a little bit about the idea of announcing the item and a quick explanation with questions, and then there's the motion in the second, and then there's discussion on the topic. It was already basically written into our.
Mhm.
So I just cleaned it up a little bit by saying motion in a second instead of a vote of the board. So once the agenda item has been explained by its sponsor or the town manager and clarified by any questions above. You used to say by a vote of the board.
Mhm.
I just said with a motion in a second, the chair can open for public comment. The idea is the questions are done. You open with a motion in a second, ask public comment, then you guys debate. And then you make a decision
Oh, okay.
for each item.
As opposed to what we're doing now is more like discussing it and having.
You're discussing
Public comment.
it, then you may at some point throw in the motion in a second and then continue discussion and then invite the public to
Mhm.
participate in the conversation on that item and then,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It works for us for the most part, the way we're doing it.
Probably makes it a little harder for staff to transcribe though.
Shelley's got her
Shelley
red.
has said multiple times she would prefer that when the item came up, we made a clear motion and
Yeah.
second before discussion.
Yeah.
Because it gets lost.
It gets lost, exactly, that's totally understandable.
Or there's a motion discussion and then the second.
Yeah.
It's 5 minutes later.
Right.
Yep.
So the other thing I did for this was to clarify public comment between the general rules of public comment and then those assigned to non-agenda items. So I gave some clarity on explaining that as part of this. So, you know, really sticking to the idea that no decisions or votes are taken matters on matters from not on the agenda. Items can be added to a future agenda, but not to be discussed and debated as an item. So we can get through the actual agenda before adding new things to the next agenda.
Well, and I think for me, the most important thing about that is that oftentimes public comment turns into a period where it's a lot of discussion.
Right.
And to piggyback on your point, it's much better to have real discussion around topics when it's an agenda item that has attached exhibits, documentation, and everybody's had it for a while and can read it. So everybody's sort of at the same level of knowledge or preparedness to have the conversation. I think that's important.
So those were, I believe, the two biggest changes that you saw. Other than that, I kept everything else consistent.
Those look like the only two changes you did.
Um, yep. Friday morning, 6 AM.
We make some motion in a second. No, we can.
I'll motion to approve the bylaws and policies of the select board as presented.
Second.
Thanks, Thomas and Rufus and so now I guess put this to test. Any opinions or discussion points on?
Oh, well, this is total public first.
I thought we talked first. Is that what you?
I'll ask if there's any public comment.
Any public comment?
Just keep speaking up a little.
Yeah.
Please.
He's the most guilty of that.
Sure.
We'll get you a
Point
mic-
fingers around here.
we'll get you a megaphone.
Yeah.
I'm loud.
Okay. Am I hearing no discussion?
I think there's smart changes.
Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimous. Great. So item 6C, carry forward budget adjustments. So this is something Michelle provided a memo on, and I think Kevin, you can probably walk us through the math on this or how this gets kind of managed.
Yeah, I think the important point is, every year we should be adjusting the budget so that each of the budget categories, or at least it wasn't this year, it's a little convoluted going into next year because it was a lump sum that was voted on. But it did, I mean, the question that was asked this year still said categories, so that's something I gotta change in future iterations. So you have, I wanna say 5 major categories that you spend money in: general government, public services, which includes the agencies and the transfer station. You have public safety, you have planning, and you have public works. So there are 5 major categories that you, and harbor, so 6 categories, and then you move money into reserves. When we ask the question to the public or the town meeting, can you allow the select board to move about 2% of that money from one category to another to address budget shortfalls? This is essentially what you're doing, and I just do it towards the end of the year because then I know what money I have available in one category to help offset another. Our biggest challenges this year were public works. Our salt budget was significantly high. And part of that's an internal conversation, but I do need to fix it. It's about $60,000 over budget on salt. And another $9,000 on equipment use. One of the biggest issues we had was there was a culvert failure on Liberty Street that they recognized as part of the redo on the sidewalk that they took care of. So it's a couple of things that hit us.
That didn't have anything to do with the water main failure.
No, it didn't. I know, I checked it.
Are we paying for the water main failure?
No, we are not paying for the water
Good.
main
I just
failure.
wanna make sure.
Yes, I
I
dug
saw that and I was like, wait.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
I know because that's when I went and dug into, oh, was this us? No, it was it was someone else's culvert that's in our right of way.
Okay.
So this winter had 39 total storm events, so we did have a significant storm season. Which put us over budget. So how do and you are allowed to move up to 2%, which is about $70,000. So I have about I think the total movement of money is somewhere around. What did I?
Close.
Yeah, it's moving to $37,000 to offset this. That's what it is. So you're moving $37,000 from one account to another to offset that overage for the whole department. I also have some carry forwards that I'm requesting for you guys. They're listed here. But I had some savings in software line because we had paid twice for Trio in 1 year. So they reimbursed us to offset a huge chunk of our software budget, which can be, part of that can be used to pay for this salt this year. So you're just moving some money around and offset our. I think there's a link at the bottom of this that takes you to a adjustment spreadsheet that shows you exactly how much is pulling from different accounts. To also the carry forwards to show you where we're over under. The end of the year. With the budget adjustments, we will have about $600 remaining.
Oh, don't say it like that. It sounds like we only have $600.
We don't, we have way more than that because we brought in $245,000 additional revenue.
Yes.
So in terms of your budget versus your actual, we'll be very close to in line with that.
Yeah.
I think about $1,000. So what we said we were gonna spend in budget overall for the whole town of $3.5 million, we'll have about $1,000 left in the budget. That's how close it was this year because of those large overages. And that includes moving some money from this year into next year to pay for things that we haven't spent money on that we plan to. Like, for example, talking to Casey, some of the PPE equipment that we've been trying to work with the vendor on has been delayed from them. So we haven't been able to take the inventory and pay for it. And so I'm asking for some of that PPE money to be moved into next year. There's a little bit of money being moved to pay for part of our share of the grant that we got to pay for all of the SCBA equipment. That bill finally came in, but we haven't taken it in yet. So we're just waiting. And I need some of that cash to pay for it. Start the process for Glidden Street, but we haven't gotten an invoice for the stormwater repair work the stormwater design work. So I need the money out of the technical assistance line to carry forward. Yeah,
What was the line stripe? Didn't get.
line striping got done just recently, but we haven't gotten the invoice for it, so I wanna pay for it in next year. I'm not gonna do a look back warrant this year.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna move the things forward and pay for them next year.
Okay.
So line striping, I mentioned the fire hose, PPE and scuba gear. SBCA. Tire.
Close.
Close. Yeah, just the same thing, right? Just not covering.
I wouldn't wanna go underwater for that.
Fair, and then audit services, continuing to move that money forward so we can make sure we can try to catch up this year. We are in the midst of getting our 2024 done right now. Quickly.
So that was my next question is, after this reconciliation. How close will Michelle be to having Because,
2025?
we've got the auditor on a hot streak. Let's just keep them going, right?
We are,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
what our goal is, to try to get 2025 done by August.
Great.
I can't guarantee it, but at least it's in the works.
Does our funding depend on that or the 2024?
Our funding depends on the 2025.
Okay, so
Current audit.
it's not a hope, it's a must.
It really is a must.
Okay.
I'm not gonna, because not funding.
No,
With the bond,
Bond.
working with
Bond.
Maine Bond Bank.
Yeah.
In order to get that funding, yes, we're gonna need to have 2025. That's what I was told by Tony, in part because we've never borrowed from the Maine Bond Bank before. I had a solution. I don't think I included that in here. I had a solution, or have a solution to at least consider.
a contingency.
Yeah, a way to do with it, so maybe.
We don't need to discuss that. Yes.
No, not today. I'm too tired and it's.
Well, we need to be current through 25 audit, right?
Our audit should be done through 2025 in order to
Seek a bond.
access resources through the Maine Bond Bank. There may be some other options, at least short term,
Yeah,
to get us through till next spring, maybe, but I don't know.
until when does that bar move to the next?
February. It's every 6
February.
months or
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Just twice a year does the bank, not
Okay.
bank, Maine Bond Bank. So
Well, thank you. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the recommended carry forward and budget adjustment amounts as presented in the finance director's memo.
Second.
Great, thanks, Ben, thanks, Rufus. We ask in public. Is any comment on this? Public's.
We
Point of view.
prefer to stay out of high finance, thank you.
I mean. It helps to see this spreadsheet too, but okay, so from the board, any questions? Opinions? Okay. Let's take a vote, all those in favor? Motion passes 5 members, great. Item 6E, road maintenance contract for FY 27.
Yep.
Skip D.
That was.
just see,
Core zoning code.
Oh, excuse me, yes, of course. Sorry.
doesn't want to talk about that one, does it?
What?
Kevin, do you wanna? Do you wanna present this and, cause it's, okay, I set it up, right, this is about. A amendment to thoroughfares. And basically how. We perceive and regulate thoroughfares, is that a good way to put it?
Generally, yeah.
Okay.
To remove the roads, driveways and entrances ordinance
Yeah.
and replace it inside the core zoning code as a chapter called thoroughfares.
Okay.
Took a while for somebody to pull this together. It's a lot in there.
Well, it's been in the works for a while. And the planning board met last Thursday to review it all, and the biggest thing, I guess the biggest thing that I can say is the true need for it from the planning board perspective is that I think almost, if not every application that came to the planning board this past year butted heads with the current roads, driveways and entrances ordinance in one way or another. And in a couple cases, we ended up having to extend. In one case, we had a person go back 3 times because we had to keep seeking clarification and getting more detail, and the roads, driveways and entrances ordinance as written really was a Band-Aid on an issue that was identified late in the game when the core zoning code was going up to be voted on pre-2020. So it served its function for a little while, but then it became kind of obvious that it was really a one size fits all, which was not in keeping, it was a one size fits all approach that was not in keeping with the rest of the core zoning code, which is quite flexible. And so we had applicants coming in and wanted to create subdivisions, and of course roads are a part of that. And how do we actually get the road in there, and the it wasn't that the standards for the construction of the roads were bad, but honestly, the biggest stumbling block was just the right of way widths. So it's been retooled, and Michael, when he left us with the work that he'd been doing on it for several months. The board had talked about a lot of the definitions and the scope and the idea or the philosophy behind wanting to distinguish between the different types of thoroughfares, streets and roads. And so that's what you have in front of you.
This would also help us with the concept idea that we have for a project site. We have tax foreclosed on Mills Road. But the strip we have available to us is too narrow for a 50-foot right of way. So as part of this, it would help us be able to do that project. The impetus for trying to get it done now, as part of this process and timeline, would potentially provide access to resources to actually get utilities in that site. So now we know get a road engineered.
Yeah, 50 feet, it would seem like a generous, well.
For any kind of road,
Yeah.
it was, for any kind of road, that includes a private, private road, or, I mean, anything, and we just. I'm not joking when I think we hit on it, every single application became problematic.
When you look at a lot of your historic roads in your downtown area, like Plum Street, Cross Street, Glidden Street. Some of those don't have. I mean, you talk about 50-foot right away, you're into people's houses.
Well, you think of going up Academy Hill, like Hall Street,
Right.
there's between Route 1's right of way and the buildings that are along that street,
Yeah.
there's not 50 feet.
Right.
No.
No,
Nor does there need to be.
no, and
Because-
Hall Street was one of the ones that
Yeah.
we had a problem with, right? Yeah.
It doesn't, I mean, traffic, it's not like you have cars zipping by each other, it's,
Right,
it's low speed and low density,
right.
so.
So hopefully the idea is that this draft gives the town and the planning board a lot greater refinement, understanding, and standards and metrics to really base discussions around, instead of what we currently have, which is not great.
Unwieldy.
Yeah, it's crude. It's
So this is schedule a public hearing. At the planning board. And that would be on the 16th. We would vote at the next meeting. 13th. With this to we expect to have a special town meeting on August 10th, so this would be included on that.
Yeah.
That warrant article.
Well, this isn't the last time we'll see it, because we have to set the warrant. So.
Yeah.
If we get a overwhelming one way or the other. Opinion on it at a public hearing, then. It's not going straight to the warrant, we're still gonna be talking about this again on the 27th, if we're gonna put it on the warrant.
Correct.
We're just making an opportunity for discussion, open discussion about this.
We're setting it in motion.
Yeah.
Can I move to schedule a public hearing of the planning board amendments to the core zoning code thoroughfares for July 16th, 2026 is presented?
I'll second.
Did you hear that, Roger?
Yeah, oh, I just have a question, but Mel was first, so.
Go ahead. Yeah, Mal, go ahead.
That's some issues that would be, I think, useful to see to before it goes on to further inspection. Start with the easy one first. The map is presented is not really readable in any meaningful way. It needs to be more detailed so people can identify just which roads, especially for the short stubs. Are they actually roads? Are they driveways? And the driveway language is quite reasonable as I read it. The issue comes when you go to the chart, which lists off all of the ways in the town. That driveways are given a road designation. And that puts them into a different bin. And there are no driveways listed in that 4 pages. They're all roads. Which is not, I think, what was intended. Because the language is pretty clear and lucid about driveways not being part of this process. They're separate. They're not going to be impinged upon by these new rules. But that's not how it's written up currently. Because that chart would put people with just a driveway into a road bin, and if they needed to have some work done, it would be done in the more expensive mode that would be required for actual more heavily wrought kinds of travel ways. So that chart really ought to be broken out so that instead of my road being a road, it is a driveway which meets the definition in there, and most of the others are the same way. And this would, I think, cut down some of the anxiety that's likely to occur when people start to look at what is currently said in those documents. There's
Do you want me to jump in on that one?
Oh,
before you move
please,
on?
please.
Yes, I've got that feedback. You're the second person now to bring that up. The map is completely unnecessary. And the caption, though it's tiny, says that it's provided for convenience. The type assignment shown is the binding classification where the map and the inventory differ. The inventory governs. The inventory, which are those 215 road segments. The reason some of those are on there and they are actually driveways is because it was generated using E911. So
But
anytime
not edited.
anytime you have an E911 named way, whether it's a private road or a private driveway, if it's named and mine's on there, it's going to say the same thing. The overriding standard that governs is there's a limit on the number of units that that road serves. So more than 2, and it
Makes it a road.
makes it actually a road or a street, depending on its classification. So it doesn't get triggered until that happens. And so the argument for keeping the roads that are legitimately named but are driveways now because I only serve a single house like yours is that should another, say, 2 units go in on your driveway, it is no longer technically a driveway. It becomes a road. And we want some standards to be able to govern the improvement of that way.
Right, but if I'm an R1 now, and I have to make some road work, I would have to do it to R1 standards.
Well, that's the same, I mean, your argument is the same as any other feature of the code. Say you have a pre-existing non-conforming structure. You're allowed to continue using that pre-existing non-conforming structure as long as you want. When substantial improvement is made to the structure, it must come up to code. That's just how codes work.
But the question is, a activity, when does it cross the line? I mean, people are gonna worry about this. When does it cross the line from maintenance into a construction project that would be normally found in, let's say, larger R1s?
Yeah, I think
People are gonna worry about that.
the definitions for what constitutes general maintenance are very clearly spelled out.
Well,
I should remember where.
Uh,
If it moves. What it boiled down to me when I read through it was, is it's either you're adding units or it's moving.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can, like, doing culverts, bringing in material, all that, your general road maintenance was.
But is that clear?
Pre-existing.
Is that gonna be clear to people?
In the definitions, it has general maintenance is defined, and then substantial reconstruction is defined.
yeah, it's under,
Article 4.
yeah, section 14 on page 20, it's the last page of the document. Under 14D, substantial reconstruction, which is under the non-conforming thoroughfares section. And it says substantial, well, I'm not gonna read the whole thing because it's quite long, but item 2 says substantial reconstruction means improvements to a previously constructed thoroughfare, including but not limited to extensions to the length or width, the rip up and replacement of subsurface road building materials for a length or section of the thoroughfare that goes beyond activities associated with general maintenance. General maintenance is capitalized because it's defined as a term. The addition of sidewalks or wholesale rebuilding of pre-existing sidewalks, or a change from one permanent road surfacing material to another, such as from dirt to asphalt, asphalt to concrete, or asphalt to dirt. So it provides a way to go up and down the scale, I think.
I think it would make people a bit more comfortable if it were a little clearer about this. There's also a question I had about some of the ways that are they came out of the limited user highway environment years ago that ought to be clearly either in or out of this listing of ways. It's not clear to me what the ownership or legal status is of portions of the Reach Road. You know, some of that was in limited user highway and then got pulled out. It's not clear to me what the whole length, how it's properly broken out. Also, the town way to Damascotta Lake had been a town recognized route path when it went into limited user highway status, and it has sort of become an orphan at this point in time.
Which road segment are you talking about?
The town way to Damascotta Lake from Route 215 at Haggett's Field to the shores of Damascotta Lake.
McNeil Point Road.
McNeil Point Road.
It's most likely that, yes, but it wasn't described in that way in the entry into the status, and it wasn't dealt with in any recovery from that.
Mhm.
The old Sheepscot road, that's straightforward.
You're talking about I'm sorry, Mal, I'm just going back real quick. McNeil Point Road is listed in the inventory under line 120.
Right, but it's not necessarily the same path.
We don't know.
We don't know.
So the way that inventory is set up, is that the only actual binding, legally binding one, if this passes, would be the type classification, the ownership classification, the district that it's in, and the bounds of the road segment are not. They're there, just there for illustration and hopefully illumination as to what we're talking about, but they're not guaranteed to be 100% perfect, because this does not represent deed research on every section of road.
Well, we're short of that every place else, just about too.
Yeah.
Well, even with Miss Lincoln's work, we're in many places uncertain, of which is really another issue, but this sort of ties in on some of these road segments.
I think if you have some, that are, type classified wrong, send a list.
I will,
Yeah, that would be great.
something I've worked on for 20 years.
Yes,
And
yeah.
along with Mr. Gutek.
If you have information that would make it better, absolutely send it along.
In some of these cases, I do, in other cases, I don't.
Yeah, I know. And no one's gonna have 100%. I mean,
Not from that list. No, I think we'll not close it, but the judgment is requested on making sure that people understand just what kinds of burdens or non contact is being put upon them by listing them out as R1s. Thank you.
thank you.
Any other comments on the core zoning code amendments?
Yeah, I have a quick one.
Okay, Roger.
Ben, I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head around, like you said, almost every case that come before the planning board, the road thing was an issue. So what kinds of things is this gonna solve, and what kind of problems are you having? Just a synopsis. You don't have to go into great detail, but.
I'll go at it from a process perspective, because that's probably the biggest impact. Normally, and this is before we lost our planner, but an application that was going to come to the planning board would be reviewed against, and still will be, I shouldn't say that. It still will be reviewed against the core zoning code, and any sort of deficiencies or things in the application that haven't been addressed that need to be addressed would be addressed ahead of time. In the particular case of roads, because the current roads, driveways, and entrance ordinance, specifically about right-of-way width, requiring such a wide right-of-way width for every single type of road in town, we would get to the point in the application where, the town planner would have reviewed it and said, okay, yes, but this is a problem. And he kept flagging that because you had to be able to have room on the property for this big wide right of way. And oftentimes it would make it so that other things couldn't be done. So buildings had to be moved, and then we do require any extension of an existing road or right of way to have provisions for emergency management vehicles at the end of it and such. So we kept having to take more of people's lots and set that aside as unusable. Because of the way the current system works. This would provide a way for people to hopefully be able to build the right sized road for the project that they want to do without requiring that they set aside a whole bunch of unused, unbuildable, never to be used land. So the idea is it will provide that level of flexibility in all districts. For people to get more use out of their land. In a nutshell.
Cause I was trying to wrap my head around this and it's kind of confusing when you read this and trying to apply it and understand where the problem is. And so maybe now when I read it, it'll make more sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, great. So what are we doing here? We're listen to comments from the board
Yeah, it's she, I guess.
and I'll be honest, I forgot, Ben made a motion, I think Rufus, you seconded it. So we have a
Sounds right.
motion on this right now, in a second, just to remind us. So yeah,
I think it was Rufus and
Rufus moved it, I
Tom.
seconded it.
thank you.
Just, that.
It's a replay on that.
Sheldon will correct
Just
you.
so that Kelly can hear me.
Thanks for that refresh. So any board comments, opinions on this?
Probably the public hearing will eliminate.
It's a
anything else.
motion, right? So,
Yeah.
Just at the public hearing.
Yep. Great. All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor? Yeah. Motion passes unanimously.
July 16th.
July 16th. Now, item 6E, road maintenance contract FY 27. Kevin, I don't think we have any amendments to this, do we? This is what we have this year. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think I just changed dates.
Yep.
I meant to mention lastly, there's still the expectation that if budgets can be held, staff will come back. Yeah, it's mostly dates that I changed.
Okay. So status quo on this, guys, and any questions before we listen for a motion? No?
I did mention in the recommendation, there was some discussion during the budget process about price ceilings for infrastructure work services that you may want to consider.
Say that again, Kevin?
In the recommendation on the item commentary, I did mention that during our budget process, we did have a little discussion about price ceilings for the infrastructure work services.
Right.
That you may wish to consider.
We going out to bid for certain.
If it's over 500,000, I mean, you look at the project that was done on Hopkins Hill Road, it looks great. That came in. Would have been more if we had done a lot of the other engineering work that would have been necessary, but that's a call for you guys.
Can we seek motion in a second on this and then we can discuss it?
All right, authorize town manager to sign the road maintenance contract with the running prices for FY 27.
No, second.
Okay, thanks, Karen, thanks, Ben. So, any comments from the audience on this? No. I think, hearing none from the public, turn it to the board for comments, opinions. And, I guess, I think at one point we did discuss having, maybe some limit for, competitive bid. So I don't know if that's something we wanna consider moving forward. Have a dollar limit.
This is just in regular maintenance.
Well, this covers our capital roads.
This is, just to clarify, this is different than our contract with our road commissioner.
You
They're
just,
separate.
you just appoint your road commissioner. At your first meeting in July. That's when staff will have all the appointments ready for you.
Is there, um. Is there a rate, usually a rate sheet that's attached?
There is, it was never sent to us.
Okay.
We never looked at one in February. I asked for it last week and haven't gotten one.
So we're assuming 26 rates.
Mhm. And I'll bring that to you when I do get it.
Tell me someone.
Someone last year,
Sometime. No, I'm okay with that one.
it was, I looked,
Right.
I dug into it. Cause usually I have you review that in January, February, cause it's calendar year.
That's what I thought we saw it during the,
Did we see it during budget?
that's what I was thinking when we saw.
It was probably the same one, I'd imagine. Same
Maybe he
one.
gave it to you during the budget, but you guys never voted on it in a meeting.
No,
I'll have to look.
You're talking about something with unit costs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. I feel like I've seen one, but
I think we have, but then again, time flies, could have been a year ago. Do we have any projects coming up that are going to require engineering outside of the essentially free engineering we get?
At Glidden Street
Glidden
and
Street.
and this Liberty Street, Pleasant Street, or will have require some engineering. And then also permits through DEP and Army Corps related to the,
One,
related to this.
we don't have a price on either of those yet, though,
But
but they're gonna be high.
I have the,
on the actual project or on the engineering?
The project,
I don't have prices.
right?
No,
I
yeah.
want
You
to
gotta
have
get your
it
engineering first before you get your
Yeah,
guys.
Those will come in over.
in, I'll find out in September, October, when we're discussing it as a community.
Yeah, the Glidden Street's a big project.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
So maybe
more
on,
than that.
maybe instead of dollar limit, we could say projects that require engineering.
The engineering,
Well, let's, I mean, we have, as a select board, we have. I mean, we have the right
It's your money,
to seek bids.
not our
Yeah.
money.
it's your community's money.
It is the town's money, yeah.
Am I right? I mean, if, so for
Well,
Glidden Street,
there's not,
The contract currently says. Contractor shall provide all infrastructure work under this contract in a timely manner. It maintain an engineering plan and third-party testing.
I mean, I think the other thing in play is our bids policy too, right? Does that have any
Which-
impact on this?
It references a annual maintenance contract. You have the right to create an annual maintenance contract. If you're, the best bang for your buck. Without having to go through the bidding process for every project.
Yeah,
That's, I think, the structure, as I understand it, that's the structure you have in place.
Yeah.
It gives your current contractor. The right to do all the work on behalf of the town, is this contract.
right, yeah,
And within your bidding process, you have your bidding policy, it says specifically that the board. Can create a contract, annual maintenance contract,
mhm.
that's separate from the rest of your bidding process.
No comment. Does that bidding process include cost plus? Maintenance?
Merle, I mean, to me,
let's
cost
do the
this,
budget.
Hmm?
Let's just do the budget.
um,
If you're expending out of a budget line.
I'm-
Which is your what you would consider your maintenance, your unit costs, pricing for. Patching and stuff, striping, that sort of stuff. That's out of the budget, which is approved annually. Am I wrong there?
No, we are, if, for example, if I were to say. There's a pothole on Kings Highway. And you go fill it in, we've got a complaint about it. Those crews under this contract will go take care of that based on the pricing that we've agreed to.
Right, it's an hourly plus the.
Hourly plus the
materials.
equipment and the labor to go put
Yeah.
some asphalt down.
Right.
We don't have the pricing in front of us after we sign the contract.
You don't have to sign the contract.
Well,
I think until we actually have the
Yeah.
pricing in front of us, then we should table it.
The unit
But-
cost.
I think, back to Merle's question, I think essentially everything is cost plus under this contract. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
So the
It's
current,
normal, it's normal US government policy.
the current
That's how it would be.
purchasing and
Very
bid
fast.
policy that we
Yeah.
have. Kevin, you're absolutely right, but I just want to make sure that it's spelled out and clear that we actually have levels, 0 to 5,000, 5,000, 15,000, 15,000, 50,000, and over 50,000. And then in addition to that, so we have those tranches, specified about how work that falls within those price ranges are, authorized. And then, on top of that, we have the annual maintenance contracts for over $50,000. And total cost bidding and then it spells out competitive purchasing and exemptions from competitive bidding. And this was last done in 23.
But that doesn't supersede. This doesn't sound like.
No, it lays the basis
I
for it.
think it's a companion, we may say, to the basis.
I don't use that policy to administer our public works department.
Right,
I use this contract to administer our public works department.
which says that all the work goes regardless of whether it needs.
Yeah, there's no
And-
dollar thresholds in here that say, all of our infrastructure work up to $200,000 is done by this contract. Any project that's larger than that has to go out to bid. Doesn't specify anything.
Right, anything like.
So,
that.
a project like Hopkins Hill Road, where I think we got a good price for what we got. That might have been something the board could have considered as something they want to bid. Or when we look at probably $1 million plus to redo Glidden Street and all the streetscape work that's gonna be done. That's probably gonna be $1 million project, if not more. So if and when that happens. Do you wanna, that's not gonna happen this fiscal year, so it's not a concern, we talked about it during the budget cycle, I wanted to make sure. We had a conversation.
Probably needs to be some kind of cutoff, but if we're not gonna do any of these. Until after we know whether we're gonna have a public works department, then it might be a moot point.
We're not gonna ever have a public works department that rebuilds roads.
No, we will not.
Right.
Let's just make that clear.
We will not.
That is not a thing that's gonna happen.
No, that's true.
And we shouldn't say
That's
anything
true.
that encourages the concept that we are planning for that.
No, we're not.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Where we do have engineering and as a base plan to any project. It would be, it would be a tool that we could solicit competitive bids with that engineer. So,
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's a good place.
that was my original statement.
That's a good place to
Engineering.
start. I mean, it's a pretty clear line you can draw.
Mhm.
If there's engineer
Pre-project engineering.
pre-project engineering.
Yeah.
That has been completed by the town. You have guardrails there where you can focus a number on with an RFP. And
yeah, there's a matter, sorry.
no,
There's a matter of, I just wanna, the thought. Which you're kind of, I guess, you're commenting in something that I said, but I think just to be clear. Engineering doesn't mean that it's necessarily a set of bid documents. So in other words, you could do pre-engineering work, doesn't mean that. It's a base to take the next step, which would be bid documents. For soliciting competitive bids. So that's, so I'm just saying, it's just, there's, like Liberty Street, like Glidden Street, we're gonna be doing some engineering work. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a package.
Yeah, they're not handing you
You can
this is what's
advertise
gonna
it
show up on the street. It's-
with
you
specifications.
can-
It may be more of a design set with outline spec or something like that. So,
An outline minimum spec for certain aspects. It's not all aspects. They're not gonna. We're probably not gonna be reaching out to engineer any shoulder sidewalk type situations. It's mostly stormwater, that sort of stuff, base, that sort of thing. So you get your engineered plans back, and then you work with either that engineer or another engineer and get an actual build document
Mhm.
that you can then turn into your bid documents.
Right. Yeah, and like, so Lynch Road, that was a complex set of documents. And, you know,
Right, no,
Fee.
million plus.
the fee, well, not, yeah, being besides the construction cost, the
Yeah.
fee. Or the engineering, that was a detailed, very complex project. But I'm saying that was a full set of bid documents for the project.
But we paid them to complete a full set of documents ready for bid.
Academy Hill was the same.
Okay. But where we're talking about, I don't know, this could be a $500,000 project here on Liberty Street. But I don't wanna say what I think it is, but it's gonna be a lot more than that, and then and that's big money, I think. Where the engineering and the bid documentation and the competitive nature of it does protect the taxpayers.
Yeah, what I'm not sure about is, the advisability of setting a hard dollar amount on a competitive bidding process like threshold.
I don't,
That's
yeah,
bit us in the ass,
Mhm.
sorry, that's bit us in the butt, in the past.
Yeah.
Where it was like, well, it's not much more. It'd be simple to do it, so. I gotta think about it some more.
well, like,
At the rate that things are changing, let's put it this way.
Price wise.
If we had included in our policy a competitive bid pricing, even in 2023. Right?
Mhm.
We'd be revising it again now,
oh, yeah,
6
because
months.
it's meaningless.
Yeah.
So a number is a difficult thing, it's not gonna stick, it's not gonna stick for even 6 months, it's not gonna stick for 20 years.
That's why I was suggesting perhaps not a dollar value, but more like if it requires an engineering plan.
A complexity.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's no dollar
yeah,
associated with that. It's a more complex project that requires pre-engineering and all the stuff that goes along with that.
So I still
Well,
gotta
you
think
could-
about that too,
Yeah.
because I don't know that the necessity, I mean, there's various levels of engineering. Right?
Well, pick one. I don't know what they're called. so
Well,
pick one.
I'm just saying, like, I mean, there's simple things that could benefit from a little bit of engineering, but then can be executed without. A whole lot more fuss. There are other things that absolutely need a lot more fuss.
Yeah.
I just don't know really where that threshold falls.
Well, you can ponder.
Yeah,
it.
I
You
gotta
need
think
to
about
decide
it.
today.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
if you're choosing your we've already done the budget process, and you're reviewing this contract at this time. You already know which projects you're gonna do next year. You could just say these projects need to be bid out, and these projects. So it's not all of the projects. It's these projects you're gonna do, and these ones we're gonna bid out.
so do that as part of our budget process. You're saying?
All right after the budget process at this stage.
Decide.
Right
which-
now.
Okay, so these are the projects we're gonna take on, here are the ones we wanna put out to bid.
Yeah, you don't have to pick them.
Not,
Every year
not
you-
by any other standard other than what we think needs to go out to bid, not because of the dollar amount, not because of the complexity, but because that's what we decide.
So maybe I like that as a solution, but we could formalize that a little bit.
Sure.
Build a process around
Yeah.
it.
Do we seeing as it's a policy, right? The purchasing policy under the road maintenance. Or the annual road maintenance contract portion of the purchasing agreement, can we? Would that be the place where we add some of this stuff in rather than in the actual road maintenance contract
To the policy.
to the policy?
I would think so.
So the policy as it went, or the road maintenance contract, the way it lives now. Where we can be fine with. We can address the policy, which then would dictate some of. What's in the road maintenance contract,
Yeah, we
Or
could,
how
we
that's
could tighten it up.
executed. not
There's,
what it says, but how it's executed.
sure. All we've got right now, and this does come, the direction of the annual maintenance contracts comes from a paragraph in the purchasing policy, which says. Annual maintenance contracts over $50,000, any annual maintenance contract over $50,000. The town manager shall coordinate with the select board, as we are doing. To develop a process to select a contractor and authorize the signing of a contract that is in the best interest of the town. You're just suggesting we beef that up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, cause like there's, with like, what Tor's saying with the engineering and stuff, we can list out certain types of engineering processes that. Would trip a bid process or more competitive bid process. Because there's projects that would come in, engineer project that would come in, well, under say, doing a shim and overlay of North Newcastle. Which is that's as simple gets, it exists. If that's all we were looking for, you're not gonna get a big variation in price, the price of asphalt and the price of labor, and. You're gonna get, if you get 3 bids, they're gonna be all within.
2% of each other
Yeah.
or something.
But an engineered project where there's so many different variables, I mean, we saw it with the. Winch Road Bridge, there was a huge spread on the prices. That came back to us, and that was a pretty intense. Document that they had to follow as far as bid spec goes, so. That's kind of where the viewpoint I'm coming from. Piggybacking on what's also been said, so.
I think it comes down to our process when we plan out capital projects. In the beginning of the year, when we get to January, when we're talking about budgets, we actually meet with the roads commissioner and we talk about these plans. I think then is the time to hear what the proposed work plan is and then. Figure out what makes sense to bid out, because we gotta consider too, budget. You know, the engineering fees to create a set of bid documents. Takes more money than something that we might have budgeted for, so we'd have to understand what the budget. What that budget item is, and then also time wise, I mean, we'd have to work that into pre-construction of. And maybe it's maybe it's a thing where we have engineering done. We may not have that project, by the time we get the engineering done, it may not, work out. So it creates another step in the process. But we'd have to budget for it, at the budget cycle.
Right, if a project. Is gonna be small enough that paying to have a bid packet put together isn't likely to net us that much less in. Project price, then why would we bother? If there's just not that much variation, like you say, a shim and overlay, like. You're not gonna see that much variation in price. A bridge. I mean, it was almost. I think our largest.
Delta was $1 million or
It was
so.
almost.
It was almost double. It wasn't quite, but it was 75% more than the low bit, so I think maybe that's what we look at during our, capital. Discussion, okay, so this project. There could be a lot of variation in pricing. That's when we. Put it to bid. I mean, there's. It's nice to have this contract with a contractor so that, right, when we need a pothole filled, we don't have to put it out to bid, we don't have to call around, we know we have a contract with somebody to do all the sort of simple things. But yeah, I think. To put more complex projects out to bid, you
Oh, and an emergency standpoint too.
Sure.
It's great to
gotta
have.
have it,
I mean, you have a short section of road that washes out. And you need to get that repaired, even if it's a FEMA reimbursement type situation. 3 years down the road, which
yes,
we're dealing with now, but. You need to repair that section of road.
tomorrow.
We have pricing for all those different aspects to do it.
Yep.
And we have a time frame. Depending on the severity of it listed out in this contract, so it's a good thing to have. Especially because you wouldn't wanna have a dead end section of road that's washed out. Unpassable for emergencies and just residents getting in and out. For an extended period of time, and we do have plenty of dead end.
So
The other thing that factors into this, and I'm just trying to cover all the bases here, if we're gonna think about it a little bit more holistically. We have a intern who's engaged in the activity of updating the road condition survey that Kara started 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Once that's completed, we'll actually be able to compare conditions from 2 years ago to conditions present. And will inform this conversation, I think, a lot more in terms of what roads actually need priority and then what scope they may need as well. So
that work also involves collecting all of our culvert locations and when the severity that those are in. And I'll mention, because we can probably just say, all right, live with this contract for now. When I look at what we've said we're gonna do for projects for FY 27, we're talking about finishing the sidewalk on River Road. We're talking about the overlay, the shim overlay, the final overlay on Hopkins Hill. That'll be next spring. Doing the overlay, the shim and overlay for all of Academy Hill Road, the full length of it. And the sidewalk on Mills Road, and the other stuff is design work. So you're not talking about projects that are gonna fall into these potential categories we're talking about.
not this year.
Yep.
That's
So
right.
I think maybe we just go with this contract. For another year. And we work to. Address the needs and hopefully stay within the budget this year.
Yeah, I think if we take one thing away, it's a philosophical shift. To, in retrospect. Hopkins Hill is a big project, tune of $600-something thousand. I think that's something that we probably would bid out in the future, in my opinion. But,
There's in the trades, and I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but it seems that there is a shift from the sort of pandemic era of. Can you do it, not when can you do it and how much is it gonna be? To today, it's people are, well, how much is it gonna be and when can you get there, we've gone back to the way things were a lot more. Where you need to be competitive and you need to be responsive. I think there was a period of 6 years. Or so where it was
Desperation.
desperation, exactly, it was just, I don't care how much it's gonna cost, I need to have it done, you're the only person that's even answered their phone. And that's changed, so maybe.
I'm not seeing as much of that.
in the residential maybe, but in
In
commercial,
residential, I'm not seeing.
commercial. It's definitely,
Yeah,
there's competition.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
back to the way it was in,
It's not about
2009?
I mean,
but
I still challenge anybody to get an electrician or a plumber to show up in a timely fashion, or even return a call. Residential wise, hard,
yeah,
really hard.
My fridge has been broken for a month.
As far as I know, there are literally 2 appliance repair people in the entire state,
Yeah, no.
YouTube
Drive-
University, man.
independent, so. Yeah.
I'm fixing my toaster based on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah,
But I mean, I don't want to push back against you, I am a little bit, just because
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know. I see it coming back a little bit, but it's not there yet.
no, it's not there.
Demand is still high.
Yes.
And resources are still pinched.
Yeah, I don't know, bring in,
So do we need the price sheet or no?
I would, I mean, we just.
I think it's irresponsible of us.
Yes,
to
no,
vote on it without the price sheet. I'd like to see the price sheet.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
bring it back to you next week, or next
Next
meeting.
time.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I forget what I was gonna say then, but I think that makes sense, I mean, we gotta discuss this again. So.
May I make a comment?
Merle?
Yeah.
Quickly, if you can.
Okay, yeah, I'm sitting here listening, I remember that it used to be $25,000, this was 20 years ago, $25,000 for the town to say, we'll fix it. No bids necessary, and over $25,000, we had to get a bid for it. Now today, I can see it being more like $50,000 to $60,000.
Which is what our policy says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then anything over $60,000, we have to get a bid.
Yeah.
And just make it simple, keep it simple as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, my only, the only thing is, if you have a number limit, you're gonna get a lot of bids that are
Right.
$49,999. You know, so, it works on both sides when you're within that margin of competitiveness, so I think it really comes back to us. On a planning basis and looking forward down the road.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
We'll just part of the budget process,
Yeah.
decisions then.
All right, so moving on to item 6F, town attorney contract and,
Yeah, so the April 13th, the board gave authority to the town manager to hire Freddie Flaherty to serve as the town's attorney on a monthly basis until June 30th, 2026. So the contract that we signed with Freddie Flaherty didn't technically expire for June 30th, 2026, but I wanted to invite Gray, who's here, come on up. Gray to come by from Freddie Flaherty, say hello, get introduced. They've been very professional, extremely responsive in responses. I have enjoyed working with them, and I'd like to just introduce him and continue this relationship. I know the only sensitive thing in the agreement was price, and they gave us till April 2027 at the $2,100 a month.
hey, Gray, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet all of you as well. Thank you very much for having me. You know, like Kevin said, we've been working together for 2 months about, and you know, at least on our side, I think it's been a really great relationship. Kevin's a pleasure to work with, and you know, the matters that we've been handling for the town, at least from my perspective, are pretty interesting. I know not everyone finds municipal law fascinating, but I do, so I like doing my job. But I'm really here tonight just to, you know, hopefully put a face to the name and to answer any questions that you all might have. You know, obviously this, you know, the original retainer agreement is only for 2 months. You know, obviously, as Kevin said, it didn't really have an end date written in. If you want to terminate the contract, that is certainly your prerogative to do so. But to the extent that you all want to talk about ways that it could change, or you know, ways that it's going well, and we want to keep it, you know, along that same track, I'm happy to do that tonight.
So
And so I'll just one other thing to throw in there. I assume you spoke with Kevin about this previously, but with the municipalities that we work with, generally there are 2 ways that we have agreements set up. One is a monthly retainer, which is what Newcastle has elected to do for these past 2 months. That, as I'm sure you know, and I've got copies if you need it, generally has a whole host of items that fall under the retainer, and it's usually the day-to-day legal questions that come up. There are some items that fall outside of the retainer agreement, and those are more bigger ticket items like litigation, coming in person to answer specific things where it just might eat up that bill fairly quickly. One thing that we are cognizant of is that we haven't worked with you all that much before, and your legal needs vary from month to month, year to year. What we hope to do, and what we've done with a lot of the other towns that we do work with, is revisit that retainer agreement annually and go back and see, hey, it's $2,100 a month right now. you're only actually doing $1,500 worth of work for you. Maybe we should decrease it. Or we were doing $3,000 work, that's unfair to us, we need to increase it. But really, we view this as an iterative contract, and candidly, our lives are a lot better when you all are happy. And so we want this to work for both sides.
I love that.
So with all that being said, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Did you have a question?
Something? Well, you had something.
I did. My question was just about your counterpart,
Mhm.
Kristen Collins.
Yes.
And so how does that dynamic work?
Sure.
Because we're not used to having two attorneys.
Yeah.
address the town.
So Kristen is my boss. She is on vacation this week, and so that's why she couldn't be here. She actually lives pretty close by in South Bristol. And so to the extent that, one of us does come in person to future meetings, it most likely would be her, just because that decreases cost for the town. If she's busy, it might be me coming from Portland. With that being said, to answer your question of how does that relationship work, so far Kevin has been CCing both of us on every email that is coming from the town. Generally, I've been responding. Kristen, as a partner and me being an associate, she's a lot busier than I am. And one thing that we are cognizant of is that Kevin and the town really wants a responsive relationship. Because I have less on my plate, I've been able to get back to him, I think, fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And we do know that both of us do have other obligations. And so by having both of us on those emails, if someone can't get to the question soon, the other person can hop in. Kristen and I, she does work from home most of the time in South Bristol. So, but she and I are texting all day. And so, I'll say, hey, I'm swamped with XYZ. Can you get back to Kevin, or vice versa? And that's generally how it's been working. But we do our best to minimize times that both of us are working on an issue together, because obviously that increases the cost if it is one of those items that is outside of the retainer agreement.
Yeah.
If it's one of those items inside the retainer agreement, well, then you guys just benefit. Yeah.
Great. Awesome.
Also, there's benefit to the two of them working together in case there's collaboration on a specific topic. You can bounce things off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And candidly, we each have different strengths. I mean, Kristen certainly has more strengths than I do. I'll say that. But she has a lot of experience with labor issues and other employment issues. So to the extent that those do come up in Newcastle, she would certainly be taking the lead on those. If there is, land use enforcement litigation, things of that nature, I would certainly be, running point on those things. There's, two of us listed on the engagement agreement, but the municipal group at Pretty Flaherty, there's, 3 full-time attorneys. Our colleague Cam Ferrante also works with me in Portland, but Pretty's a big law firm. And one of the benefits of working with a big law firm is that we have colleagues that don't specialize in municipal work, but specialize in items that municipal, legal issues touch upon, employment, real estate, etc. And so if I have a question, or if the town has a question, say about, a paper street, I can go to my real estate colleague and say, hey, we need some title research done. Can you do that? And candidly, because that's what they do all day, they can do it a lot quicker than I can.
And so when it comes to a litigation, would there be a pass off to a litigator within Preddy, or?
So it depends on the type of litigation.
Yeah.
For, run of the mill litigation, so to speak, a land use enforcement action,
Yeah.
or an ADB.
Yeah.
We would handle that in the municipal group, because that is what our bread and butter is when it comes to litigation. I'm in court a couple times a month handling those types of cases. If there was a really complex litigation, for example, recently for a municipality, we were handling a TIF dispute. We advised, as the municipal side, of what is required for a TIF, how do these agreements work out, but the day-to-day litigating of that went to a litigation specialist, because it's their everyday work of writing motions, doing discovery, things of that sort.
Yeah.
That's good. You started to ask questions, and did it go away?
So a lot of my interest lies in land use, zoning, and
Sure.
so I just wanted to reiterate that we have a potential change to the zoning code of the town coming up. That'd be something you would review and provide
Of course, so I actually worked with a town near Augusta recently on a complete revision of their land use ordinance, and it was an interesting process. They rightfully so wanted a lot of input, and they did most of the preliminary drafting. I came in with my edit saying, hey, this needs to be changed to comport with XYZ statute. We're seeing this in other towns. Have you considered, ABC? And so that was a very collaborative process. There's been situations with other towns where they say, look, ball's in your court, give us what you think would work best. And, we really want to cater to what our municipalities want, because at the end of the day, it's you all who have to, live with that ordinance and from the select board's perspective, enforce it.
Yeah, I think that the first scenario you described is sort of more where we live.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's kind of what we're used to. But we always want to cross all our T's, dot all our
Yeah.
I's, have a legal set of eyes, make sure they're trying to punch holes in anything.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think Kristen, myself, Cam, we all recognize we are interlopers in Newcastle, right? This is your town. I don't live here, but it is my job to give you the best legal advice that I can.
Yeah.
Right. And so at the end of the day, it should be your words that are in the ordinance, not mine.
Mm.
But I just need to make sure that when push comes to shove,
It's
that
legally
ordinance isn't
defensible.
gonna get overturned.
Right. It's great.
Interlopers. I don't know if I care for that.
That makes sense.
I apologize.
No, I love it.
But at least you're beer every day.
I'll get you a bumper sticker.
Newcastle Newcastle
I can
interloper.
guarantee you, Kristen's familiar with the traffic patterns and the.
Uh-huh,
to the
yeah,
traffic
sure,
roads.
yeah.
So yeah, Kristen, like I said, lives in South Bristol. She's worked in the Mid-Coast for most of her career. A lot of her clients are, your neighbors. And so she's intimately familiar with this area.
That's great.
Yeah.
What happens if we have beef with one of our neighbors and she represents them?
Well, from time to time, conflicts do come up. If that is the case, we have a couple of options depending on what ethical rule is triggered. If there's a direct conflict between, you and another town, let's hope that's not the case.
No,
It very
just-
rarely
yeah,
comes up.
just
But to
theory.
the extent that that does happen, we can either get an informed consent, which is we explain to both parties, this is the conflict here. And this is why we think we can still adequately represent both of you. To the extent that we can't, we would have to say, look, we have to excuse ourselves from both sides of this. Here's, two other really good municipal attorneys that you should go turn to. We would love to help you, but we're just barred from doing so. But let's hope that's not the case.
No,
I
no,
will say it's
just-
we represent the town of Kittery, and 2 years ago, they had a border dispute with York. But other than that, I can't think of many instances with towns, litigating against each other.
I even remember that.
Yeah.
I just recently saw that in the news.
Mhm.
Great. Any other questions, for Gray?
He's gonna stick around because he's gonna join us for executive.
Excellent, great. Look forward to that.
And Kevin's been happy with response time.
Well, that is,
That's good.
what we're hoping to do.
Thank you. It's good to put a
Yes.
Yeah.
Likewise,
Likewise.
likewise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, if not, I will see you in
Yeah,
executive
so,
session.
yeah, just stick around.
All right. Thank you very much.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to continue the agreement with Pretty Flaherty to serve as Newcastle's town attorney.
Second. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Thomas. Any other discussion?
All the feedback we've gotten from the public has been positive, so.
Great. All right, let's vote. All those in favor? Yeah. Motion passes unanimously. Item 6, or I'm sorry, excuse me.
F.
Item 6, 7A, so fiscal warrant. FY 26 AP warrant 4.
I'm sorry, hold on.
You good?
In the spirit of completeness, I think we should also authorize the town manager to sign the agreement.
It's already signed.
Never mind then.
It's signed.
That's what we did before, and I just noticed
Yeah,
that we
it's
didn't
good.
sign it. You
It's a
signed
good
it.
call.
You gave me authority to sign it in April,
Okay, great.
and it was only to go to the end of this month.
Okay,
But we're just gonna continue this agreement
Continue.
until
Okay, great.
April of next year.
good. So we don't need to thank you.
Nope.
Just checking. I apologize.
Great, So this warrant is for $574,648.01.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Big part of that is the school, and the other piece of that is CPM
I see
construction.
that, yep.
Oh.
I didn't look forward to your town manager. Are you gonna talk about that at all?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
So I don't have a question. All right, vote, everybody in favor?
Yep.
The motion passes unanimously. Town manager report, please.
Yep, Newcastle next, I mentioned it earlier, still doing those weekly conversations. In the report, there's links to the video recording of it. Is on YouTube, and then there's slides for each of the different presentations. Done 4 here in the fire station, 2 with food, 2 without. Definitely more people show up when there's food. And I've done a coffee at the Historical Society, the Tanis Scott. Hope to do more of those. We'll be scheduling them soon.
What was the one tonight?
Tonight was on civic spaces and town assets, talking about the Veterans Park. We talked a little bit about Harriet Bird. Talked about the 2 slivers of land that get us to the river.
Slivers.
The slivers of land. We discussed some of the volunteer opportunities in our community. It was great because there were people there that said, "Oh, I'll volunteer." So I just need to find ways to communicate with more of the public. And I think with the new website that's coming, there'll be opportunities to do that. So there's excitement and energy, just gotta make sure that people are aware. And that's the hardest part, always.
Cool.
We are gonna close the office early for the last day of the Tuesday, June 30th. At noon, so we can complete our fiscal year end closeout. We've done this every year since I've been here, just to not having to have staff here on the weekend or overnight to get this done. So we have to fill out the year-end report, processing the warrants, and complete the other fiscal responsibilities. And then as always, the battery lending program, there's 18 of them here in this space. They are available for residents in Newcastle to borrow in the event a severe storm is coming and you're concerned you're gonna lose power. You can come and borrow them. Call the office, get set up to be able on our list. We don't have a delivery system yet. We want to try it out where you come and pick it up before the event and just bring it back within a few days after the event. We'll charge it here. If you need it for more than that, and the power's out for that long, you can come back and charge it or change it out in this fire station because it is battery backup. We will not lose power as long as the sun is shining. So, other items, the Lynch Road detour, the project is now scheduled to wrap up at the end of July. Problem is waiting to have paving done. Paving is expected to be done on July 13th. So that's the holdout, and then they have to put in the guardrails after that. So the 2 pieces that are left, it looks amazing. Karen and I took a ride out there today, got a couple of photos. There are no new reports and inspector reports. I'll ask for that. But yeah, it's coming along. It looks really good.
Do we have any plans to do like a opening or
So ribbon cutting?
some kind of celebration of that?
We should.
I know the neighbors, the local neighbors would probably appreciate that, or I've heard that they might even do their own thing if the town doesn't do anything, so we might get ahead of that.
I think some of them might like not having that open so the traffic drives through.
Those aren't the ones I heard about.
Oh, see,
Fair enough.
okay. And then Sheepscott Cemetery, I wanna give a shout out to Karen and Mike Titus. And some of the other volunteers who've stopped in to help with the Sheepscott Cemetery this year. They've reset 13 stones from various levels of repair.
Just in the last week, not
The
including
last,
what we did in the
oh,
last.
that's more than that.
That was, yeah. That was just
Jeez.
this week we did 13.
Getting good at it, huh?
Yeah, Mike and I, we're getting there, right?
So how many in total this four
Oh.
weeks of work
Wow.
you guys have done there?
Probably double that.
Yeah. Wow.
I'd have to look back at the
So just
maybe
13 this week.
13 this week.
We got more efficient.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect.
I didn't even include the ones that I just infilled some of the cracks, so we didn't count those.
Well, there's a link here both to Judson Starr's company Maintain Their Memory, its website, as well as a link to a bunch of the photos that I took, that Karen took. Available to take a look at and see some of the before and after. She and I will work together to get them before, after.
Because right now they're going in photo taken order instead.
Yeah,
All right, we'll figure it out.
so the link's there, you can check out those photos, and then a future agenda item is the video surveillance policy. We got a grant to pay for most of, and we'll talk about this after the fiscal year. Most of the cameras that we talked about putting on this building and the town office, so I also want to put in a policy to go with it. That's all I got.
That's enough.
It is.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. So that's the end of our scheduled agenda. That objection. Motion, meeting adjourned at
We have to move to.
8:59.
No, we gotta move to session.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session, Title 1, Section 40560, consultation with attorney.
I'll second that.
Thanks. Ready to go.